Hi there, beautiful souls. Grada Robertson here, and tonight I am going to have a deeper conversation with you about a topic that's really important to me, and that is how to heal trauma and why trauma work or healing your traumas is the most important gift that you can give to yourself. So I see this over and over again in my clients, that when they are stuck somewhere in their life, and it can be even if their business isn't thriving, or they're doing everything, they're doing a vision board, they are doing the law of attraction, they want to get somewhere, they have a goal they want to reach, and they're really putting everything into it, and literally you can't fault their efforts. And yet they're not reaching their goal. It's always due to trauma, being stuck in your tissues. That's why I like to say your issues are in your tissues, right? And tonight, I really want to share some interesting information with you around this, so you can experience greater levels of freedom, so you can stop that trauma cycle. Because you might be one of those lucky people that believes you haven't experienced much trauma, or you were bypassed when the trauma fairy came along. But I am here to tell you that everyone has trauma in their body, and it's mostly, of course, the hidden trauma that trips us up. So the hidden trauma is the things we can't remember from our childhood. So often from age 7 and before. And some of us can remember a few little things from before 7, but then often before age 3, or say from conception to age 3, that trauma can sit in our tissues as well and trip us up just when everything is going good. And it creates massive levels of unworthiness in us. So if we can heal just some energy around one topic, it would be the topic of unworthiness, and to help you feel more worthiness inside your body. So when I'm talking about all this today, I'm not just talking about some sort of mind concept or a brain concept, because people in the past used to believe that trauma was just simply stuck in your memory, like in your memory bank of your brain. And, you could just push it down in your brain and like shut that part of your brain off, and then you wouldn't be bothered by it anymore. That's how my father lived, and my mom, I'm sure, in previous generations. And of course, now we know that that's not true at all, because actually trauma is stored right throughout your body. It's even stored in your earlobes, in your nails, in your big toe, you name it. Your traumatic memories are stored in those parts of your body. And so how can we access those traumas and release them? That's what I want to show you tonight in a fun little exercise that's not hard to do. So I just want to share this really important story with you, just to show you how traumas do come back and bite us in the bum if we kind of ignore the pain, okay? And sometimes we have no choice over it, by the way, because we've forgotten some of our history. And of course, that's why I do the work I do, to hack into your computer and make sure there are no big big traumas, big heartbreaks, big emotional issues there that you've forgotten. And if I find them, I just release them with energy. We do it together, and they're gone very quickly. And that's how come I'm so healthy today, even because I was hit by a truck and, left with catastrophic injuries. And, every day I look down my body, like I can move every part of my body. I'm as good as gold. And I simply sometimes can't believe how amazing my recovery has been. But I've never shied away from trauma work. So just let me take you back to one of my worst nightmares. And I wrote about it in my book. I wrote a book I meant to show you, actually, and I called it "You Are the Miracle: how being hit by a truck saved my life. I'll put a link in there. So I described this story in the book. And when I was 7 years old, I was playing with my favorite cat outside. I had always had a deep love for animals, but we weren't really allowed to have any pets. So what I used to do is I used to catch the stray cats, and then I would tame them, and they had kittens. So I always had dozens of cats. And this afternoon was just a beautiful, quiet afternoon. I was outside after lunch playing with my cat, and my cat was like my baby. That's the intensity I felt for that cat. And suddenly it ran off, and it ran across the road, which was only a few meters away from me. And a farmer came along and just plowed over the top, and the cat died in front of it. Was pulverized, literally. It was very, very brutal. And of course the farmer just kept driving, and I was left with a pancake, what had been my cat just a few seconds before. And in that moment, for the first time in my life, I felt completely hysterical. So I started screaming my head off, raced inside the house, and I woke up my father, who was lying on the couch having a nana nap. Or, you know, he had a 10-minute power nap every day after lunch. And he got such a big shock. And I was screaming hysterically, and they were trying to find out what was wrong with me. And then when he found out that it was only a cat, he got really, really angry, and he gave me a beating of a lifetime. So this is like trauma 1, I lost a baby. Trauma 2, I get beaten for showing emotions. And so I was sent to my bedroom and just, you know, left under blankets to deal with it. And obviously I never dealt with it properly, because when I was 26 or so, yeah, I think it was 28, the same thing happened, except this time it was one of my daughters who was 4 years old, and she crossed the road and got hit by passing four-wheel drive and left for dead on the road. But thankfully she survived. But that would be absolutely the worst moment of my life. I even have trouble talking about it now when I tell you, because I just feel the tears and the tension coming up in my body. Luckily she recovered, which is a miracle. And then of course, Pete and I, we kind of brushed that under the carpet, because we were moving at that time. I had 3 children. The number 4 was in my tummy. We were setting up a farm. So, you know, Lisanne turned out, she made a comeback. She was unconscious for starters, and then luckily she had no injuries anywhere. And we were able to take her home after a week in the hospital. And so we just pretended that never happened, closed the door. And then history repeated itself again. So when I was 43, a truck came along and just hit me, right? Ran over me, kept driving. Just the same. And it was a farmer too. It was a Dutch farmer of all things. I mean, honestly, how much more coincidental can it get? Except I don't believe in coincidences. So then, of course, then I had time to look at all my issues. That's why I called it How Being Hit by a Truck Saved My Life. I hope it's still saving my life, and because I hope I don't have more issues like that in my body, that I ask for something like that again, if this makes sense. So I hope my story makes sense to you, because if we have issues in our tissues and we've just brushed them under the carpet because they're too painful, they don't go away. They're just sitting there, kind of recharging themselves, gaining charge. You know, we push them down, they come up. We push it down, they come up. And it takes a phenomenal amount of energy. And then we're living our life on a trauma brain. A trauma brain is a scattered brain. You can't focus, you feel grumpy, you get tired, you can't connect with people, you can't be in your body, you're not kind to yourself. You name it, that's called a trauma brain. So this week I learned a new word for it. It's called, wait a second, let's see if I can find it. Transitional character. Okay, So there is a word for a circuit breaker, right? So a circuit breaker is somebody who says, I want this trauma to stop with me in this lifetime. I'm not passing this on to my children. So transitional means like you are in between two stages. So that means like, I know all the stuff that happened to my parents, and that's of course why I didn't blame my father. I mean, he survived the Second World War and he didn't care about animals, so I can see all that. But my body isn't the same as my brain. My body never got a chance to assimilate the toxicity of that situation and the pain, and it just went underground. Then it erupted when my own child nearly died in front of my eyes. And because that had a good outcome, we didn't bother looking into. Anyway, I didn't have the support of anyone to help me really uncover that. I didn't feel that I could talk with Peter, and Pete, he didn't talk, because Pete tends to be really, really quiet. He's very understanding though, but in those days we weren't as open with each other. We were in our early 20s. And so it just kept on, went back into hiding, and then it must have festered, and then it exploded when I was 43. So when I was 43, I'm nearly 60 now, I really had to choose to draw a line in the sand. And I said, no more, I'm getting to the bottom of this. That's partly why I wrote my memoir. And I'm just finishing my second one now, because there's a lot more. And I'm very conscious that I don't want to give any of my history to my children. And even, I know that I've made big mistakes as a mom, and I've traumatized my children too, because this is what happens. Hurt people, right? So when you're hurting, you can't stop. You hurt other people too. But the good thing in my family, at least, is that there's honesty around it, and I can say sorry, and I'm available to their pain. So to heal trauma, we have to validate the emotional component of the story. This is so, so important that you get it. So often when we tell a story and we're distressed, the facts may not add up, right? Because a trauma brain can't think logically, and it might exaggerate, or it might just add a bit in or leave a bit out. And so the storyline might be maybe unreliable, and then people around us, they just often just shut it down, or they say, oh, well, that wasn't true, or it wasn't as bad as that, or just look at it this way, or just think of all the good things that came out of it. And we're not validating the pain, because we actually can't feel our own pain, so we're not available to be there for anyone else either. And this has got to stop, because what we need in today's world is what we call these kind of circuit breakers, right? We can see how it's happened over the generations, how we've been programmed, and we don't want that anymore. I definitely don't want that, and I never want to pass my issues on to my children, like I took on a lot of my parents' issues. So the first thing is to acknowledge the pain, even if it makes no sense at all. So you can always say something like, if you don't know what to say, then it's best to just be quiet, but still be present for the person who is sharing something with you. And make sure you're not thinking about your groceries or something. You pay them full attention, and then you can say things like, that must be really, really difficult for you to go through this right now, or I can't imagine, or something like that. Or just tell me more about it, and so on. So you feel into that pain, and you make sure that you're emotionally available for them. Because I remember when I was lying in the hospital in ICU, fighting for my life, bleeding to death and broken, I was just in agony, really. It didn't matter how much morphine they gave me. And people around me just didn't know how to handle it. So Peter, especially, he would just say, I would hear him say this to the visitors, like, I'm sure she won't remember any of this. Like, or he would even say to me, one day you won't remember any of this. Well, I'm sure that was his deepest wish, but to me that made my pain worse. I still feel my heart scream out now when I'm sharing this with you. That was the worst thing anyone could say to me. And what I really wanted Peter to say was like, I'm here for you. I can't believe, I have no idea what it's like for you, but I'm here for you, and I am tuning into your pain or whatever, something like that, instead of just invalidating the emotion. So that is a big example, but it can be a little example, like somebody, I don't know, gets falsely accused, and then it all ends up good, and then we say, okay, well, look, just ignore it, or that person was silly, or they didn't mean it, and so on. Well, what if they did mean it? And to the person, it felt as if that person was being falsely accused, and so on. So a circuit breaker or a transitional character is somebody who says, okay, all this poison and stuff stops with me. I'm assimilating, I'm allowing light to shine on it. I'm acknowledging it, I'm feeling it. And the secret is when you actually allow yourself to feel it, the intensity is never longer than like 2 minutes, actually 90 seconds apparently, to researchers. So it takes our brain, our chemical brain, 90 seconds to release, say, the hormones of anger or fear or sadness, and then it's finished. And so we might have a few little waves like that, but the trick is to just sit with it and sit with yourself in a safe space, and give that child that was like forgotten, that had to hide under blankets, that didn't get the comfort, give the child the parental attention that it needs. Actually, every human being should be handed a certificate at age 18 to say, you're the child, and now you're also the parent. You're the father and the mother now, and look after yourself for the rest of your life. That's really what we should have been shown. So I hope you relate to this story, and I thought we could just sit, because time is up already actually. But if you know that you have issues in your tissues, or things are happening, like your life isn't flowing, you're being tripped up all the time, or you're working so hard, you're not seeing the rewards, you're not having the abundance that you deserve, that means you're blocked somewhere, and it means there's a trauma there. That's as simple as that. So you can do EFT. EFT is emotional freedom technique. That's tapping. I can show you a round of that now. Perhaps we can do that now. And also, of course, you can come and see Peter and me, because Peter is the most awesome, amazing healer. He's learned everything. He's learned from all his mistakes, same as I have done. We've really bled in the trenches. Peter understands everything. He also heals with energy. He gives me a tune-up every week. And come and see us and don't suffer. We can literally hack into your computer, even if you don't know anything. We can find your traumatic issues and just clear them. And it's no drama attached. That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of living in today's world, that it can be released so easily and so gently, so lovingly, and you feel so much lighter. Actually, I'll tell you some of the things people have told Peter me after the treatment. They drive away. They almost feel weightless, and they feel like the years have peeled away. They actually feel their body again for the first time. So they're inside their bodies, and it feels enjoyable. They feel tingly all over. They feel more connected. They feel more intuitive. They feel more like psychic. So they know when people are going to ring up and all that kind of thing. So literally you become more alive, because you're not pushing things under anymore. But just for now, we can do some tapping. So anyone can do tapping, absolutely anyone. And it's completely available to you. And I might put a link in the comment for you to if you feel stuck, you can do some tapping yourself. So the official name for tapping is emotional freedom technique. So I'm just choosing still. I feel a little bit of charge around when I was in ICU in pain, and people just didn't get it. Like, the worst experience for any human being, by the way, is feeling disconnected, feeling isolated, and being in pain and feeling abandoned at the same time. Like, emotional abandonment is the worst pain. So I'm just going to tap on that. So you can think of a topic that's still kind of painful for you. It just can be anything. It can be something that happened yesterday. And then you just give it a number, like of intensity, from 0 to 10. 10, it feels really intense, right? And 0 feels nothing. So that's not a good subject. So I'm going back into my mind that time that I was all broken and scared, and of course, and abandoned. And I still feel about the 3, even though I've done a lot of work. So tapping is just simply just follow me, what I do here. And you can say anything, like in the tapping world, they have lots of mantras and phrases and sentences. But really what it boils down to is that you just be true to yourself. So I am just going to say something like, I feel angry. Because actually that's what I feel when I think about it. I feel abandoned. I feel scared. Always talk in the present time, because your body only ever lives in the present. I feel ashamed. I feel embarrassed. And then you tap these points in there to do with your lungs. And then there is actually one under the brow line. Okay, or right on the brow line. So I'll show you. You just go see there. You only need to use one hand, but anyway, 2 hands might work better. So, okay, so I just want to say now, I feel childish, that I'm still haven't let go of those issues yet, even though I've done so much work. And I feel a little bit ashamed and embarrassed. I even feel embarrassed talking about getting a beating from my father, who used to do that regularly, by the way. And of course, there's a lot of shame around that. Okay, and now I feel that in my lungs. So these are the lung points, they to do with sadness. And this is just releasing sadness. And I already felt my body take a big breath. So, and then you do it under your, or around the brow line. Okay, so you just go like that, or chicken, what do they call that? The chicken dance or something like that. Okay, so I'll just do one more round. So start at the top of the head. It's so easy. So you start at the top and you just say something like, I feel hurt. Just think of something that makes you feel hurt. I just feel so hurt and betrayed, or frustrated, or stuck. Or you can say, my money is never working out for me, and I deserve better, right? And so now it's literally clearing all the trauma from your body by tapping. But I'll stop now, because there are better tapes on the internet. Like, you can Google it, and a million tapes, million videos will show up how to do that. It's really, really effective. They did this with after the Twin Towers came down, with all the thousands of people who were traumatized. And it just simply gets rid of all that charge in your body, because you're tapping on the energy lines in your body. It's like literally breaking the circuit. So I am a person that wants to stop the traumas from my parents' generation, from many of my ancestors. I wanted to be finished with me, so my children and my grandchildren and so on can have a beautiful, crystal clear foundation to thrive. And when I work with my clients, I feel their ancestors come into the room, and they're here to support me to release some of the mess that they left behind. They didn't want to leave that behind. It was just that they didn't have the resources, they didn't have the freedom or the ability to heal like we have today. So today, when I work, they come into the room and they amplify the energy, so that my clients are literally set free, and then the nervous system adjusts itself, and then you can have a better life. So the nervous system has to adjust itself to that greater level of freedom and spaciousness in the body, and that spaciousness opens up in your relationships and in your finances, in your business, for your children. And then of course spaciousness means unconditional love, because space is unconditional love. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this, and share it with people who are feeling stuck. And you know, change is always just around the corner. So if you are in pain, or you're feeling unsettled, or things are not working, reach out and don't stay in that place, and be the change that the world needs today. Thank you everyone, big love from me, and have a really, really great week. Bye bye. Thanks for tuning in.